Hello my friends, and welcome back to Joe's Gunpla Garage. Today on the channel we're taking a look at a new release from the high-grade GQX line. This is the Hambrabi. This kit retails for $29 or 2,860 yen and was released in June of 2026. This is set number 15 from the GQX subline of model kits. In this review we're going to take a look at everything involved with the build of this model, from panel lining to seam lines and mold lines, as well as color accuracy and much more. Nothing is left out here at Joe's Gunpla Garage. I was able to get this kit early by purchasing from Matt at Kashi Shrine. Before we dive into the review, if you liked the video, please drop a like as that really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new here, maybe consider subscribing. We're always talking Gundam on this channel, and it would be great to have you here as a part of the Gunpla Garage community. Without further ado, let's dive into the review. Starting off with the box of the model, we can see the Hambrabi in a nice action pose with his transformed mode flying in the background. We also get to see the visage of the Psycho Gundam from GQX on the box art as well. The bottom side of the box shows different articulation and gimmicks that we're able to pull off with this model, and gives us a glimpse at the accessories. The top side of the box has a brief plot description and product specifications. The outer edge of the box is the box art displayed next to the teal tab that's uniform with the other GQX models. Opening the box, we're greeted with 8 runners. Across all these runners are 158 parts total to make up this nifty little high grade. This model is molded in 8 different colors, making for a fully color accurate model straight out of the box. Also included in the box is a small wire for the Sea Snake weapon, as well as a sticker sheet with a single sticker on it. Getting into the build, the assembly of the Hambrabi was relatively easy. This model includes no poly caps, but does include some C-clips. These C-clips being used in the feet and in the construction of the head, which is a fairly minimal amount. The legs and the arms are constructed with 2 halves coming together, and the joints for these limbs are on a peg and socket type of hinge joint. The area with the highest parts density is the torso, and by extension the head. This was the most complex portion of the build as it incorporated the smallest parts. For those of you that don't like small parts, you will have to contend with the 5 clear pink sensors. These sensors are seen in the front and the back of the head, as well as in the chest, and the main eye sensor being the smallest part of the build. The 2 sensors on the shoulder armor are equally small as well. As long as you don't drop and lose these small parts, you'll have a quick, enjoyable high grade to build with this Hambrabi. Panel lining is the easiest way to elevate your build. For this model, I used my tried and true method of using Tamiya accent color black on the runner and cleaning up with Zippo lighter fluid. For about 95% of this kit, the panel liner flowed well throughout all parts and made for a fun, enjoyable time panel lining. There aren't many panels to line here, which also helped with this process. I did break out a pen for the few panels that didn't have well-defined panels to line, but this was only for about 2 instances. This pen also came in handy to mask some of the seam lines as panel lines, which was consistent with the line art of the anime. This gives credence to the well-thought-out layout of parts and easy construction, making not only the assembly portion of the build easy, but the panel lining easy as well. When it comes to color accuracy, high grades typically need a few spots of additional paint. When comparing this model to the key line art, there's really nothing here that needs to be touched up. The single included sticker is simply for the camera sensor on the long beam rifle. With this included sticker, this kit is perfectly color accurate, straight out of the box. Seam lines will always be something we need to contend with as model builders. For this Hambrabi, the parts layout on the runners as well as the engineering behind the assembly made for a high grade that's got relatively minimal seam lines. For seam lines we have the following: a seam line on the front of the chest, a seam line down the middle center of the shoulder armor, a seam line down the middle of the wings, and finally a seam line down the middle of the rear thigh. Not a terribly copious amount of seam lines, and the seam lines that are present are low-key, hard to see, or otherwise unavoidable no matter the grade of model that you're building. A very nice handling of seam lines for a high grade indeed. With the darker desaturated look of this Hambrabi, you would think that nub removal would be difficult or lead to scarring throughout the plastic. This Hambrabi is made entirely of Bandai's blend of softer polystyrene plastic. This made for easy nub cleanup. A few swipes of the glass file made for quick work of the nubs on the silver and navy blue parts, while the lighter blue and purple parts only needed a few runs of my fingernail to file down the nub marks. The nub cleanup for this model was very easy, painless, and quick, giving the Hambrabi a great finish out of the box using simple tools and techniques. Mold lines will sometimes be visible depending on how parts are laid out on the runner. With this model, we're not free from mold lines as there is a decent amount here that is visible on the assembled build. For mold lines, we do have one down the middle back of the torso. We have one down the length of the rifle barrel. We have one down the middle of the elbow joint on the arm. We have one in the center of the wing connectors on the backpack. We have one down the middle of the backpack rifles, and they're barely noticeable. These mold lines will be easy to sand out and blend into the finish of the model, so if you don't like mold lines, make sure you handle these before the assembly. The aesthetics of this Hambrabi are similar to other GQX models, where we have a very different take on the original design that we saw back in the 80s with Zeta Gundam. Though, unlike some of those other designs in the GQX series, I find this design to be a bit more derivative of the older design, just with a bit more lanky, streamlined appearance. The proportions of the model kit translate the line art really well, bringing the design off screen and into your hands in a very accurate way for a 1/144 scale model. I find the sharper angles of this iteration of the Hambrabi makes for a better, more appealing look of this design over its original 80s counterpart. The included beam scythe is also really cool and is a great weapon that fits this more angular take on the design. This model really looks fantastic. With the build covered, we'll dive right into articulation. There isn't much for the head articulation here. What we do have is a forward rotation of the head so it can look downwards. The cone of the head lifts off as it moves forward, which is a nice moving gimmick. The eye can move side to side, but you really need tweezers to move it properly, and that's about it for the head. The torso has a fairly decent ab crunch built into the center. There's also really good side to side leaning articulation on this joint as well. There's 2 swivels for side to side rotation, one at the waist to torso connection and one in the upper chest area. The last bit of torso articulation is for the tail, which can extend and reach outwards. With the legs, we can kick forward 90 degrees and we can kick backwards 90 degrees as well. We can split out about 45 degrees. The leg connects to the waist at a ball joint, so we don't get a ton of rotation at the thigh, but we can rotate inward and outward a decent amount at this joint. The side skirts are on a ball joint on the thigh and can raise outwards as well as swivel forwards. We do have a double bend in the knee for a full leg compression. The calf can rotate 360 degrees right below the lower knee joint. The foot can lean left to right at an angle at the ankle, and the foot itself can lift upwards and downwards in the toes and in the rear heel. The arms are on a highly articulate ball joint in the torso. This allows the Hambrabi to reach forward and backwards a good amount away from the torso. This ball joint also allows a upwards shrugging motion as well. The shoulder has a swivel, allowing the Hambrabi to hit a little higher than a T-pose for outward and upward reaching motion. With the rear wing out of the way, we can rotate the arm 360 degrees at the shoulder. The arm can rotate 360 degrees at the elbow to bicep connection. The elbow is single jointed, yet still gives us a decent bicep curl for a single joint. The 2 claws under the forearm can swing forwards and deploy. The hand is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around as a ball joint does. The closed fist hands are on a swivel at the wrist, allowing inward and outward rotation. Lastly, the hand can rotate 360 degrees at this ball joint as well. The wings have articulation for forward and backward rotation. The only thing stopping a full 360 degree rotation is the shoulder armor. The wings also have rotation to move inwards and outwards towards the front and back of the body. The cannons are on 2 swivels, one at the base and one on the cannon itself. This allows the cannons to swing up and down over the shoulders of the Hambrabi for a firing position. For the last bit of articulation, I did want to point out that the sensors on the shoulder armor as well as the back of the head can move as well, though you'll need some precise tweezers to do so. This is a very cool feature and something that's only achievable with newer high-grade tech. Very impressive. For accessories, we get a decent loadout for this fun little high grade. For hands, we get 2 closed fist hands to hold the rifle and melee weapons. We get 2 open expressive hands. We get a deployed and closed melee weapon called a Sea Snake, which includes a wire for it for its attacking poses. The best accessory is the beam rifle, as it of course acts as a beam rifle, but can also be converted to a beam scythe, which looks incredible with the sharp aesthetic of this cosmic stingray. The Hambrabi contains a transformation very similar to its original Zeta Gundam counterpart. The transformation for this is incredibly easy, basically coming down to rotating the arms over and extending the claws, then rotating the legs and having them wrap around to the backside of the mobile suit itself. It's a very simple transformation. It does ask you to remove the knee armor and then replace it in the same orientation for whatever reason. I don't know why it asks this, as you can easily transform this without removing these pieces. This is an all-in-one transformation that doesn't affect the stability of the kit at all. The posability of the Hambrabi is really good, with the most limiting factor being the feet, as they can't swivel left to right. Luckily, we do have a rotation on the whole leg under the knee joint, which can help remedy this lack of foot articulation. With this, we can pose the Hambrabi all sorts of ways on the ground, with wider attacking stances utilizing its weapons to their full potential, or even kneeling firing stances for the long beam rifle. While I do like this kit on the ground, this is absolutely a kit that excels on a stand. On a stand, we can get a full display of motion, really making for some wonderfully dynamic poses. While not required to get the most out of this kit, I definitely recommend adding an Action Base 7 to your cart when buying this model. Its looks on a stand are some of the best from the GQX line. We've reached the end of the video where we go over all the pros, cons, and mids of this model. We like to keep it positive on this channel, so we'll cover the cons first before diving into the pros. I don't think it's any surprise that we don't have many cons for this kit. For con number 1, I wanted to mention the mold lines. While they're not terrible, you'll definitely want to handle these before you assemble the kit, as they'll be easy to spot after the model has been assembled. And that really does it for cons on this model. It's not even that bad of a con. Let's cover our one mid to mention how this could also be a con for some, but if you hear me out, I think you'll agree it's not a con at all. For our only mid, I wanted to mention the incredibly minuscule parts here will definitely give some trouble to some builders. However, with these small parts we get sensors that are color separated and fully articulated, increasing the expression and posability that we get with this kit. Dealing with these 5 small parts is a small price to pay for such a fun gimmick. Had this model been designed to be cheaper, these could have definitely been stickers. If you have an aversion or physical inability to deal with these small parts is what makes this a mid, and the great gimmick behind it is what keeps it out of the cons section. With those covered, let's dive into the pros. For our first pro, I wanted to mention that the parts layout here is really good, making for minimal seam lines and a fun assembling experience, with great engineering baked into this kit as a whole. Our second pro will be the well-chiseled panel lines that made using the Tommy aligner super easy. A follow-up pro to this would be that panel lining this kit with a pen would be rather simple and quick, as there's not a ton of panel lining to do here. Once again, the parts layout comes into play here, giving us seam lines that are intended to be panel lined, thus hiding them in plain sight while elevating the detail of the model at the same time. Our third pro will be for posability. You're able to pull off a lot of cool poses on the ground, but putting this kit on a stand really makes for a very expressive and fun kit to pose around. For our fourth pro, while I find the transformation to look ultimately goofy, it is an incredibly easy transformation to do and doesn't impact the stability of the kit in the slightest. For our fifth pro, the prep work of this model was incredibly easy. The plastic quality made handling of nub marks incredibly easy, which is a godsend, given darker colors usually have a harder time with clean nub removal. This made dealing with the prep work fast and got me building sooner. My final verdict. The Hambrabi from GQX took me entirely by surprise. Not only did the refreshed design resonate with me more over the original design, the technology built into this little high grade really went the distance. The moving eyes, great articulation, easy prep work, all made for a wonderful model building experience. When I first got into this hobby, part of the allure of it was how cheap it was. For $29, there's a lot of great value packed into this box here, with a lot of fun to be had not only through building the model, but also posing and playing with it as well. The GQX Hambrabi gets a very easy recommendation from me of buy it. This is my second favorite high grade of the year and really took me by surprise. I think you'll find this kit thoroughly enjoyable from opening the box, to assembly, and all the cool poses you can pull off once it's built. Thank you so much for tuning into this review of the GQX Hambrabi. If you made it to the end of the video, let me know your thoughts on the GQX series as a whole in the comments below. It's been over half a year now, and I feel that's enough time for people to come up with their own opinions about it. I have to give a huge shout out to my subscribers. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions mean so much to me and the channel. You guys make the impossible possible. Until the next video, be sure to stay safe, have fun, and happy building.